I probably shouldn't be up here. I was actually just reminded by a fellow. I'm a police officer. I wasn't one of the ones waiting, but I was reminded by a coworker yesterday that the last time I told a joke in public, true story, not only was I suspended for 5 days, but the entire department went through sensitivity training.
Yeah.
We're going to try not to do that tonight, I promise. I'm going to try to keep it as PG as possible. All right, fuck all y'all. I won't. I didn't realize it was that kind of crowd. Nobody got loud a minute ago, so I wasn't quite sure. So I'm not from around here originally. I'm from Texas, and yeah, that's going to play into it in a minute, right? Big culture shock when I came up here. I was I came up here, part of the reason I tell jokes that I think is funny, and I realized later that maybe they weren't so funny. I told my wife I was going to come here tonight and do a stand-up act, and she looked at me, she's like, why? I'm like, you know me, like I'll try anything. I was in the Marine Corps, right? And the Marine Corps taught me that I can do anything in the world I want. And she's like, why? I'm like, wouldn't it be fun? She's like, yeah, but you're not funny. I'm like, all right, I get it.
She's honest.
So I think she is onto something. But I was telling a guy, another one of those I thought was funny. Everybody asked me, how'd you get here from Texas? And I always say, well, it's a long, and this is true. It's a long story that involves the Marine Corps and a dead ex-wife. And I thought that was funny, right? And last week I was in Green Bay. I travel a lot to, I teach police officers around the country how to use tasers. And that wasn't even a joke. So I'm in Green Bay last week, and somebody in the class asked me, and I tell them, dead ex-wife in the Marine Corps, and I go on thinking that's funny. And it comes time for lunch, and one guy stays behind. And he goes, so, what'd you do? I had no idea what he's talking about. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, we got up to New England, dead ex-wife. I'm like, whoa, no. I'm like, he goes, I'm just wondering, I'm going through a bad divorce. I'm like, dude, no. I'm like, she like drank herself to death. And that's what you go with? I'm like, all right, conversation's over. So one reason I always say a culture shock being from Texas is I think the education system up here is really great. My kids are in it, I love it. But I think you guys, they teach something different than we learned down in Texas. Like, Texas is the most patriotic. Texas and America, that's all we know down there, right? At one point in time, 42% of the Marine Corps was Texans. I totally made that number up, but it sounded high, so I'm gonna go with it. But the reason I say that is I come up, you learn, what we learned in Texas was Massachusetts. That's the reason that there's a country. There were Billy badasses kicking barrels of tea in the water, and some guy riding around at midnight saying, fuck you, British. So I'm like, I gotta go there someday, right? And I end up, one of my buddies in the Marine Corps, he's from up here, and it's 4th of July weekend. I'm like, you dude, you gotta take me up there. And I tell him I'm America, so he goes, oh, I'll take you up there. I'll show you America. I'll show you America, all right. So it's a long ride, and we get up here, and we go through a drive-through, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? By the way, Texas is Native American for the word Tejas, which means friends, right? So I'm being friendly. So one thing I learned as a kid too is you're not supposed to make up your own nickname, right? You guys made up your own nickname, Masshole. I'll skip the details of the drive-through, but I tried to be nice, he tried to be wrong. My buddy hit me saying, why are you being an asshole? And so I'm like, let's get to America. I'm thinking rows of just houses with people out in the front yard, they're grilling hot dogs, everybody's dressed in patriotic stuff, and so he takes me to Provincetown. It wasn't the wieners I was expecting, but we saw. And I'll kind of wrap it up. I'm not supposed to be too long, but the other difference between Texas and up here is the way we raise our children. I gotta hand it to you guys. It took me a long time to learn this. You do it right. You're more proactive. You say, hey, Billy, put the machete down. Hey, Susie, you shouldn't jump off that cliff. Growing up in Texas, it was almost like a mixture of the show Survivor and like Naked and Afraid put together. For some reason, the adults down there let their children do things that hurt themselves. And then they say afterwards, well, oh, you won't do that again, will you? It becomes, at first it's like, okay, so the little kid hurts himself, parents watch him hurt himself, whatever. When you start to grow up, it becomes like a mind fuck, right? Like when you finally realize, holy shit, I just hurt myself, and you look up and there's your dad, and you're like, he just watched me do that? And he didn't say anything, and the first thing he says is, yeah, but you ain't gonna do that again. So you grow up and you're like, all right, I get it. You know, that's dumb. So I figured I'd try it with my kids. And my wife, who's from up here, who's proactive, I'll end with the quick story of my son. I'm ironing his shirt. I got court the next day, and I quickly go over, I grab my cup of water, I come back, and he's got the iron. He's not pointed toward himself. He's not gonna maim himself for life, but he's playing like a hopscotch game, going towards his hand. I'm like, that's gonna fucking hurt. It's getting close. I'm like, maybe I won't look for a second. About that time, my wife comes by, and she sees what's happening, and she was like I didn't even see her. It was like a flash. It goes right by. She stops, and she's like, you were fucking just watching that, weren't you? And I'm like, well, how would he learn if he doesn't do that? And like, she's like, no, that's your job. I swear to God, out of nowhere, it was like a process with her that I was about to let the kid hurt himself, and it was like this outwardly demon voice. I was a police officer at the time, and I would tell her stories on the road, but she turned around and she was like, this is how domestic violence starts. All right. You guys ever see those Progressive commercials where the old man's trying to teach you not to be your parents? Yeah, so she led me by the hand for like a week. Tell Johnny to stop. Tell him to stop. So I ended up being better, I promise. All my kids are alive. I have a bunch of beautiful kids. But anyways, thanks for being good for me. Thanks for laughing. I appreciate it. I'm gonna hand it over to the professionals now.